Hey everyone, it's BlueLizardJello and welcome to Wolong Fallen Dynasty, and a big thank you to Koei Tecmo as well as Team Ninja for supplying me with this PlayStation 5 copy. I am so excited to dive in. Now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this introduction, but if you've been watching me for any length of time, you know that I am primarily and almost exclusively at times a Souls player, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, etc. And the games from Team Ninja, Nioh 1 and 2, and even Wolong to some degree, aren't necessarily in my wheelhouse. They play very differently, but because my Souls brain wants to play it like a Souls game, I tend to struggle. Well, hopefully that all changes today with Wolong. I have played both demos, the first one from a few months ago as well as the most recent. And while I have to say the first demo didn't really grab my attention, this second one, the most recent one, truly did. And I was so excited when they reached out and offered me this code so I could show it off to all of you. I want to learn and experience this game. I want to actually master this game. So this playthrough may be a little bit different. It's not necessarily going to be a blind playthrough. It is going to be more of an slightly educated playthrough at times. I might actually play ahead and then go back and record it. So you're not necessarily always going to get my blind reactions, but hopefully what you're going to see is a Souls player who is notoriously terrible at Team Ninja games improve over time. And that is what I hope to bring to this playthrough. Hopefully it'll be a little bit different. Really quickly, just to show you some of the options here, because there are a myriad of options. In the game settings alone, there are 4 pages of customization, including an option to skip played cutscenes. This is enabled by default, and what this means is if you've already seen a cutscene, it will automatically skip it the next time. For example, if there's a boss introduction cutscene and you die to the boss, which I absolutely will, it will skip it the next time, which is just a really, really nice addition to the game there. There are some menu settings. You also have graphic settings. Now, I am playing on the PlayStation 5 with a DualSense controller, so very limited in the options here. I am actually going to be playing on prioritized resolution, unless I notice some pretty big dips in the frame rate, and then I will switch it. In fact, I need to switch it now. I'm going to try the resolution. If it gets bad, I'll switch it to the frame rate. I do have motion blur disabled. The only other thing that I really want to mention is my language settings. Because this game is set in China back in 184 is where it starts out, we're going to be playing with Chinese audio language with English subtitles. So if you're watching on your phone, it may be a little bit difficult to read those. I apologize, but for the immersion factor alone, I think the Chinese language is really going to set the stage. But that is enough for me. Let's go ahead and jump into Wolong Fallen Dynasty.
古代帝王梦寐以求的仙道秘宝丹药。相传，秦始皇为了拥有长生不老之躯，也渴望得到此禁忌之药。然而，人们相信这种强大的丹药会给世间降下灾难。还曾经有人说，秦王之后的每一场战争和权力的暗斗，也必有着丹药在其中作祟。时过境迁，大汉也逐渐衰败，散发着丹药光芒的阴霾再次笼罩天下，即将唤醒沉睡于各地的龙。
兄长，眼下森地势不可当，王天盛世指可待呀！天下大吉！天下大吉！ 得您出手相助，大恩莫齿难忘。很高兴看见您伤势痊愈。
找到你了，拥有不死丹田之人啊！
And now we're into character customization, and I have to say the character building is pretty robust. I'm not going to have you sit through this, but I am going to go through and customize my own character. In that opening cutscene, we do have mention of elixir several times, and we'll actually be collecting some elixir really early on. But I'm going to create this character, and I'll see you on the other side. And there we have it. Didn't spend too much time on it, but I'm actually pretty pleased with how it looks, including the little Death Stranding type tears coming out of both of his eyes. But let's jump right into it.
如此一来，老夫多年来的夙愿要实现了。
若是和您一起，想必圣迹尚存，请佩戴此玉石，用以护身。相信其定能助您脱离险境。不能再让他们为非作歹了。我们走吧。
AD 184 Remote Mountain Village. Before we even start walking, let's go ahead and start taking a look at what we have here, because we do start with some equipment. We do have this ring pommel saber, as well as the Nameless Warrior garb, bracers, and footwear. Now we're gonna be spending some time talking about the 5 phases or the 5 virtues, as well as stat scaling, spirit, special attacks, all this, but it's going to have to come throughout the playthrough, especially in the early parts, because if we try and explain it all right now, we'll never get out of this area. But just very quickly, one thing that I always appreciate is when there are tooltips. Now, on the PlayStation 5 version, hitting the touchpad will bring up those tooltips, and we can learn about it. Attack power, base attack, the 5 phases virtue, and the scaling that comes from those stats. The various stats about spirit and spirit attacks, as well as the special attack that this particular weapon has, which is called Starfall. And then if there was any other bonuses that we were getting down here that were impacting this weapon, they would be listed here. For example, the 3.4% melee attack damage. Now I do just want to take a very quick moment though to explain these bonuses. If you've played a game with any sort of stat scaling, which is a lot of action adventure games these days, including the Souls games of course, then you know that by increasing certain stats, particular weapons with scaling or attributes in that stat, then the damage will increase, and that is no different here in Wolong Fallen Dynasty. You can see here that there are 5 phases, and I always have to remember which ones they are as we go down, but they are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water from the top to bottom. So for this particular weapon, if we increase our stats in wood, fire, or water, then the attack damage on this weapon will go up, with wood being the highest with a C, and then fire being the lowest at an E. Increasing earth or metal won't do any good for this particular weapon. So then also, if we get out of the help menu though, and we use R2 to go over, you can actually see this special attack in action, which is really nice. There are videos for nearly everything you can do in this game, which is very nice. So it teaches you how to use it. R1 plus square, it will cost 296 spirit. We'll be talking about spirit a little bit as we go today. Now, for the armor, most of this doesn't matter just yet, but the armor and the weapons are going to be randomized. What you collect is going to have different stats. Even if the base stats are the same, for example, the defense and the weight, they might be the same. However, the special effects that you see down here will be different just about every time you collect it. For example, there is a weapon you get off of a mini boss just before the final boss of this area, and he can drop a white wooden cudgel, which is essentially a bow staff. In the demo that I played earlier, it had a poison attribute, so I was actually able to stack poison, and then the other 2 times that I've played this live version, this full version, I did not get that poison stat on it, so it is different. But you can see here that the special effects, they do stack up on the different armor. So for build purposes, getting specific bits of gear could prove very important, but that is going to be more important later on when we start unlocking things like wizardry, which we haven't even touched on just yet. Our blindfolded friend did just give us these Dragon's Cure Pot. This is our healing item. This is restored every time we rest at a battle flag, but you can also collect these off of enemy corpses occasionally. It's not too common. In terms of what else we have, we can look in our inventory, and if we go over to all items, you can see we have the Dragon's Cure Pot. We do have a pebble, which we can throw to get an enemy's attention. I will be putting that on our hotbar here soon, and of course it lists our weapon and the armor. We do have our status. There's a whole lot on this. We'll be going through most of, if not all of these as we go, just slowly so I don't overwhelm you, or myself for that matter. We do have title list and battle summary. We do have some documents, including tutorials, effect icons if you want to know what the various effects are that you currently have on, and there can be a lot. You also have information on characters, and there will be a bestiary as we start to open that up. There is one option that's not open just yet. We'll get to that later, and then of course your menus are available there as well. Let's go ahead and put on my... Oh, you can't actually put on Pebble on the hotbar. Is it... Well, now that's interesting. Is it under ranged weapon? It is under range. I had no idea. So it's actually a thrown weapon. Okay. I actually haven't tried to use those before, so now I've learned something. We can sprint holding in the left analog stick. Pretty common here. Grab our first item. This genuine Chi Flake. Chi is going to be essentially your experience points. You're going to spend Chi in ways of experience so you can level up, but also it's going to be a currency. As soon as we approach this first enemy, we learn about attacking. 2 basic attacks. You have your normal attack with square and a spirit attack with triangle. Normal attacks are very quick and they will generate spirit, and spirit is kind of this catch-all commodity, I guess is probably the best way of putting it. With spirit, this is how essentially your stamina, but it is also kind of like your mana. What's really interesting though is that yes, your attacks build up spirit, but even if you don't have any spirit built up, you can still spend it as if you did, but you almost go into a bit of a spirit debt. And going all the way into negative spirit is really bad, because if you take damage while you're in negative spirit, if you're all the way into negative spirit, you will actually be stunned for some time, which can be extremely, extremely dangerous. Similarly though, we can do that to enemies. If we can knock their spirit gauge all the way down, then we can open them up for a critical. So normal attacks are quick, they generate spirit. A spirit attack is slower, but it deals spirit damage to the enemy, and it can reduce the enemy's spirit gauge. When you have positive spirit, in other words, we are on the right side of our bar, and you'll see that here in a moment, you can consume the surplus spirit to increase the damage. You can also use this spirit for things like wizardry, which we haven't seen, or the special attacks that you have on your weapon with the R1 plus the square attack, and we'll use that here soon. You will also not falter during attacks and will penetrate the enemy's guard. So you can kind of see this in action by playing the video. There's the normal attacks, and there is a spirit attack consuming that spirit. But you can still do it even if you don't have any spirit. So the spirit gauge is just below, let me go ahead and target, is just below my health bar, okay, which is also just below my morale rank. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Now if I do things like deflect, which we haven't learned about that, but that's deflect, or if I dodge, or if I use a spirit attack, it will allow me to do it, but I go into negative spirit. Whereas if I go up here and just attack, then I'm building up positive spirit, and then I can spend it for even more damage. Grab some more genuine chi. And let's just do this again. Just dodging out of the way here. Now, one thing that anyone who has been playing an action-adventure game should learn is that blocking will negate pretty much all of your damage, but you'll slowly go into negative spirit as you see here. And if I just keep blocking and I don't generate any spirit, then I'm eventually going to be staggered out of that block. Why I like the block though is because when we start deflecting, which we're going to be doing here in just a moment, then we're going to be able to use that deflection to gain a whole lot of spirit and reduce the enemy spirit. But if you deflect while blocking, you have a higher chance of not taking any damage even if you miss that deflection. So here it is talking about deflection. So hitting circle will deflect, or you can also choose a direction. So if you want to redirect the enemy to your left or right, you can select that direction with the analog stick. Also, if you double tap the deflect button, you will dodge. So you can put some distance between you and the enemy very quickly. Now the thing is, with this deflection, it not only allows you to not take damage from this, but it also lowers the enemy spirit and it shrinks the enemy spirit gauge entirely. It actually takes the end of it and reduces it, therefore making it easier for you to get them all the way to negative spirit, which will open them up for a critical, and it increases your own at that. So let's go ahead and try this. I'm going to do it without a block here. So there's the deflection. You can just see it opens them up for so much damage. Now I'm going to do it this time with a block, just so you can see in case I make a mistake. And it is really forgiving. So even if you miss it on the first attempt, you should be able to almost mash it just to get another one. All right, heatproof ice. Heatproof ice, if you are going to be facing anyone who's dealing fire damage, that can be really useful. It will reduce the burn status buildup, but it also gives you temporary fire, not immunity, but higher resistance. And here we are talking about morale rank. So your morale rank, which again is just above our health bar there, the higher that is, the more damage we're going to deal. But the higher the enemy's morale rank, the more damage they're going to deal. They are much more dangerous. Just think of this essentially as enemy levels compared to your own, even though it's not truly your level. The thing is with the morale rank is that it can increase, but it can also decrease. If you die, you will lose morale rank. If you get hit by an enemy's critical attack, which we're going to get a tutorial for in a moment, you will lose a rank in morale. Unless your fortitude, which is all the way in the top right by the minimap there, if your fortitude is at a certain level, your morale rank can't drop below that. And we'll talk about how to build up that fortitude here in a bit. Okay, let's just take care of this enemy. Let's have him come to us. There we have it. Let's get your attention. And deflection is just going to be so important, so I highly encourage you to practice it, especially against bosses and mini bosses. It is going to be huge. So we should get a polearm weapon out of here, the polearm podal. So we do have a secondary weapon now. We haven't tried any of the martial arts, but this one, if you go into our secondary slot, so this is going to deal significantly more damage. It does have slightly different scaling, so this time it is in earth, metal, and water, as opposed to the wood, fire, and water of the saber. It is slower, however, it does have a really cool special effect, the marching dragon, which you can see here. Really closes the distance and does just a lot of attacks very quickly. Let's go ahead and put that on our secondary slot. To change that out, you can do it either mid-combat or out of combat. You can use it as an attack or not. So if I wanted to just switch to my polearm, if I hold R2 and then up or down on the D-pad, I will switch my melee weapons. If I'm in combat, however, and I want to switch and use it as part of a combo, I can hold in R1 and then I can hit circle. So now my saber's out, now I switch to my polearm. It does cost a little bit of spirit to do so, but it can be pretty fun to use in combat. Now this enemy is where we're going to learn about critical attacks. He has a morale rank of 4. So he is a little bit more difficult than the standard enemies. Enemy critical blow. We want to deflect against this. Blocking will not work. Whenever they wind up to perform a critical blow, if we take damage, it will lower a morale rank by 1. So not only will we become weaker, but we're going to take a lot of damage from it anyway. But if we can redirect an enemy's critical blow, then the power of the deflect increases and you can significantly break the enemy's stance and recover your negative spirit. So if you're all the way into negative spirit and you're about to have your stance broken, using a deflection to get that back is one of the easiest ways to get out of danger. Similarly, or likewise I should say, if you deflect these attacks, especially on lower enemies, it will often put them all the way into negative spirit, opening them up for a critical. So let's see if we can land this without actually losing a point in morale. There we have it, and I unfortunately missed. There we have it. There is the critical. So you can see there when the reticle turns red like that because they're a negative spirit, that's when they're opened up for a critical. Grab some more genuine chi here. And here is our first battle flag. Let's just grab back here this bandit note. There's a lot of lore. So one thing I didn't actually show off was in the item menu, if you go all the way over, each of these items actually has some story with it or some information on the item itself, which is pretty impressive because there is a lot to read. I'm not going to be reading most of it. If you want to take a look at any of these, you absolutely can. So again, here is the character that we haven't even really learned much about, although this Zhang Lang, he is going to be the very first boss that we fight. And let me tell you, for a first boss, he is formidable. So actually that note here is going to be in our inventory. You can see here under key items. The azure heaven is dead, the yellow heaven must rise. In the year of the wood rat, let there be prosperity for all. We heard that chanted in the opening cutscene. The azure heaven is dead, yellow heaven must rise. But here's a battle flag. Whenever we get to one of these, this is essentially a checkpoint. So we are going to respawn here if we die. Our fortitude rank gets increased. So now that our fortitude is at 2, we can no longer drop below 2 with our morale rank. But we can also use this to rest up. We already got our pots back. We can level up. There is some battle preparation, but we don't have much we can do because we don't have any battles, divine beasts yet. Wizardry spells, this is going to happen when we start leveling up. We won't do that just yet. And then deliveries, if I use this, which I'll probably use outside of the videos, it will give you any sort of DLC that you may have collected. So if you pre-ordered, I think there was bonuses, and I think there might have also been some loot you got if you beat the demo on that the same console. So right here, we get a tutorial on how to get sneak attacks. So there are fatal strikes. Once the reticle turns red because you're behind an enemy, just hit the spirit attack. Get a nice chunk of damage. My morale is up to 3 now. Here's some more heat-proof ice. Down here, there is a really dangerous enemy. We'll be going to clear that out here in a moment. But first, we also have these marking flags. So marking flags, you don't get your healing items back, but it does heal you to full if you're not already, gets rid of any negative effects, and it increases your fortitude rank. So now I'm at fortitude rank 3, meaning I can no longer drop below 3 with my morale. Let's grab this bandit footwear. That's going to have some more defense. I'll actually put that on here in a moment. In terms of weight and what it means, so far the only thing that I've seen is the more you weigh. So right now this would bring me up to 11.5% on my equip weight. Your spirit costs for things like deflection and dodging are greatly increased, meaning you're going to go into negative spirit a lot easier. But for the added defense, I'm going to take it. This enemy right here. If you haven't been practicing your deflections, you're going to want to practice them now. This enemy, unlike the small bandits that we've been fighting, can attack in rapid succession even after deflections. But if you can deflect them multiple in a row, you can whittle his spirit down very quickly. But look at his morale. 15 to R3. Here's the thing. If you die, your morale will go down unless your fortitude is at least matching or higher than your current morale. But the enemy actually goes up by 1 as well, meaning the enemy actually gets more challenging the more often it kills you. And then in order to get your chi back, because you will lose half your chi and your morale rank if you did go down, you will have to get revenge on that enemy to get it back, unless it's a boss. If it's a boss, just getting into the arena again will actually get that back for you. All right, well, let's see if I can get this fight going. Well, that was not a good start. There's a deflection though, that's good. All right, what do we got here? I'm happy that I'm getting these deflections. And there's our first death. I've never had him start with that lunge before, that jump attack. So this will be a good lesson on what happens when you die. So we don't go back to the marking flag, we go back to the battle flag. And this is exactly what I was talking about. You lose half of your chi and you lose a morale point. I didn't because my fortitude was 3 and so was my morale rank. But to get that back, I will have to go and defeat that tiger enemy again. So let's just get this fatal strike again. I'm actually going to switch out for the saber. I'm really not used to these slower weapons yet in this game. Hopefully that's something that I can change here. So you can see he's now morale rank 16. Okay, here's a big combo. Oh, we nearly had the full deflection and he got us. I missed just that last attack. Otherwise, we would have had a perfect deflection streak on him. That's all right. Let's go again. This time, he'll be rank 17. And this is how this game goes. Death can come extremely, extremely quickly. And it does for me, despite the fact that this is actually my 3rd time recording just this very first part. Oh, he's actually 6th. My apologies. I thought that he would actually go up continuously, but maybe it's only a single one. Oh, okay, you're against my friend now. Special attack. Oh. Okay. There we go. Glad we got that. Let's get a nice big critical. Might actually even be almost taking him out. And there we have it. We got revenge. My goodness gracious, he is a tough foe. Nameless Warrior Guard. Okay, so that's the first time I've gotten that from him. So the route, like I said, is randomized. So now that we have, even though the same chess piece, we can see what has changed here. So the base stats are all the same. However, it looks like we got burns accumulation to enemies. Well, I don't have anything that does burn damage. And this is toxin attack power. Well, I don't have anything doing toxin damage either. So it really doesn't make a difference which one I wear at this point. All right, let's just grab some more loot though. There's actually some in this building if we drop down in. Okay, we got the Lieutenant Greaves. These are very heavy, but the defense on it is really, really good. So let's take a look. So we're going to go up from a 1.9 weight all the way up to a 12.6, but the defense is more than double, which is really nice. Now this will increase lightning attack power and chill accumulation, which we might be able to open up by the time we fight the boss using wizardry skills. And we'll take a look at that here in a second. Well, I say in a second, once we actually get to the point where we can level that up. Let's run back around. There's a little bit more loot up on the rooftops. So just over here, there's our genuine chief fragment, and back here, we also get the bandit garb. And let's see, that should be slightly higher defense than our nameless warrior. It is indeed. Oh, and we even get plus 8 HP on this one. Nice little bonus. I think one reason why this game has stuck out as more enjoyable than Neo for me is I get overwhelmed by too much loot. And Neo was borderline Diablo in its style of loot. And yeah, that really didn't resonate with me as much as I did for some of you. You can also get a fatal strike from above. So if we do a jump attack and the reticle turns red, we can then hit spirit attack for a fatal strike. Deflection. And we actually didn't even need to use a spirit attack to kill him. Oh, we got a new saber. We'll have to check that out and see what has changed. Now let's see, can we get a fatal attack from behind on you? Yes, we can. And what do you got for me? Absolutely love those fatal strikes. So behind here we do have another marking flag, so that'll get my health up, so don't waste a dragon pot. And let's take a look at that new saber. So what has changed here? Absolutely nothing, actually. Same special effect, same melee attack damage. That's interesting. Right, well, guess that's something I can sell later on. So we have our second battle flag up in the top right under the fortitude by the minimap. You can see how many of the battle and marking flags that you have collected. Now we're going to have some zombie type enemies. Let's just rush in and quickly get these kills. I say quickly, however. There we go. Don't forget to look around for all the loot here. Some more chi. And more chi there as well. Now there are some enemies coming up that you can actually get a fatal strike on, at least one of them. There's that enemy up there, but over here there's a rank 8 enemy, and if I just jump, I can at least take out one of them. Come on now. And that was unfortunate. Completely missed the deflection on that critical attack. Not that that's too uncommon. Alright, I did get a headpiece here. Turban cap, which is absolutely ludicrous, but we do have some pretty good defense on it. Heaviness accumulate. I don't think I've actually seen anything so far that actually puts on our heaviness stat. So this is just teaching us about martial arts, which we have seen already. Most weapons, your common weapons, are only going to have a single martial art, which is going to be the R1 plus square. Rare items will have 2, and you can do R1 plus triangle. Once we kill the boss here, we'll get a weapon that has 2 on it. It does cost spirit, but it can pierce the enemy's guard, which is really beneficial. So let's try to build up some spirit here. Okay. And martial art. There we go. So even though he was guarding, we were able to get right through it with the martial art, which is excellent. Now we have a few enemies up here, but we should be able to clear out at least one of them. Well, I was going to say we can clear out one of them with a fatal strike. That's unfortunate. Oh! There, let's heal up. That was a really terrible fight on my part. Another polearm pedal, which is probably going to have the exact same stats. Here is the last of our marking flags. Hey, we have kind of a mini boss coming up here in a moment. Let's grab this loot. What do we have? Bracers. There is our third and final marking flag. Fortitude up to 7 now, so we can't drop below that, which is good because we're coming up against a boss. Oh, did I break through and grab that item? I did, right? That's where we got the no, there's an item in these boxes. There we go, more chi. I just want to take a look at that polearm to see, does it change at all? So this does have a different special effect, so that's good to know. So this one, Horn Strike, let's see what that special attack looks like, that martial arts. I do like that one. This kind of launches you into the air, which is really nice. But I'm hoping I'm going to get that Poison Cudgel from this enemy. Notice the red triangle next to his morale rank. If you kill him, there will be a battle flag that we can then take for our own, which is good because we have a boss coming up. Now, he is going to use some critical strikes, so let's get ready to take him out. In fact, let's switch to the polearm. In fact, let's switch to the other polearm. And let's give that a go. Okay, not leading with your critical. There's his critical. Alright, not my finest fight, but we did get it. We got Elixir and we got Champion Armor, rank 2, which is very nice. So let's take a look at both of those. So we got the Champion Armor, which I don't think I've actually gotten before. Much heavier, but much better defense. That puts me over 70% equip weight, which is a little scary, but that looks really cool. It does give me some extra spirit attack damage and some spirit defense. Kind of like that. And then we also got Elixir though. So we got this Elixir. This item, this temporary consumable, it raises morale rank and increases spirit gain when used, but causes spirit to slowly decrease over time. So we'll talk more about that as we collect it. You can carry up to 3 of them. Luckily, we do have a battle flag right here, and we're going to level up at this battle flag. I didn't get the cudgel. I was really hoping for the cudgel here. So our fortitude's now up to 10. Let's talk about leveling up. It's a little different. There are only 5 stats to put points into: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. The 5 phase virtues, or the 5 virtue phases that we talked about when we were looking at the weapons and how they scale, rather. Excuse me, tripping over my words. If we use R2, we can look at the weapons we currently have equipped. So there's my ring pommel, there's the pole arm. When you increase these, the damage goes up. So if I increase my wood up to 4, you can see that my pommel, which is attack weapon number 1, goes up by 3. If I put up my fire, it goes up by 3. If I do earth, then my pole arm is going up by 5, etc. The problem is, it's kind of weird if you go over to the item itself and you increase. It doesn't change here, so you have to be just on this first screen to see it. But every time you level it up, much like other action-adventure games, there are other stats that go up. So for example, wood affects your HP and the amount of spirit lost when attacked. And you can also see on the right-hand side other stats that are going to be increased by increasing this. So your HP, spirit defense, and spell duration. Fire virtue, your HP, your attack power or your attack spirit gain rate, as you can see, and your martial art spirit damage. So you can see here it's actually going down, so it actually costs less to use your martial arts when you use fire. Earth, your HP, your deflection, and your max weight. Metal, HP, so everything's gonna raise your HP just to varying degrees, but with metal, you have HP, you have your spirit sustainability, so how quickly your spirit gets drained, and your wizardry spells. So the more metal points you have, the less your wizardry spells are going to cost. We'll see wizardry in a moment. Water, HP, your attack power for your ranged weapons, okay, which we don't have any yet other than a pebble. Your stealth, so if you want to be sneaky, water's going to be the way to go. And your deflection spirit consumption will go down. Now, I want to get some more damage in the weapons I currently have, especially my pommel. And my pommel, you can see the best one's going to be in earth, or in wood rather. So let's actually go into wood and let's put 2 points here. And I do want to put 1 point, well, let's actually put 1 point into metal and would start to reduce the cost of the wizardry spells. But now that we have put some points in, we also just got a wizardry point. And that opens up here as well. So wizardry spells, this is where it gets, to me, a little bit funky. Go into learn, and even though we just put 2 points into wood and 1 into water, we have 1 wizardry point, as you can see up in the top middle, in each of the 5 phases. So wood, fire, earth, metal, and water each have 1. Each of these skills will cost 1 to open up. And of course, you have to go in order. You can't simply just skip these and go all the way up here. You do have to have a prerequisite, but you also have other prerequisites in order to use these. For example, lightning bolt. You can see by this star under lightning bolt that I need to have at least 1 rank in the corresponding phase, or the virtue, which is going to be wood. Now, 1 is default, so I can use this at any point. Then, next to that, you have a morale rank requisite. You need to be morale 3 or higher in order to use that. And then further to the right, you have the spirit cost. So I can use this one because I meet all those requirements. Unstoppable force, this is another one that I can use because I do have more than 2. I am higher than morale rank 7, and it is going to cost 772 spirit. That is quite a lot. As we go over, though, into the virtues that I haven't put any points into, blasting fire, I can use this because it only requires 1 with a morale of 3. But if I try to use fire bolt, I can't use this because I haven't put a point yet into fire. Okay, so even though the morale rank is 0, I can't use this one. Earth phase, I can use rock spike, but I can't use quake bound. Metal, I can use poison bubbles. Let's go all the way over, but I can't use repression crush. Okay, so it does take a little bit to understand what you're doing, or at least it does for me. Oh, and I didn't put it into water, I put 1 into metal. So actually, I can use repression crush. Release a curse bolt to the front. Enemies hit will recover from spirit disruption more slowly for a certain period of time. I might actually use this. I haven't used this one before. Let's buy repression crush. I like the idea of that. And let's go over to wood, and we will do... We'll do unstoppable force, and I will... No, I should have done lightning because I had the bonus there, but that's okay. I'll do blasting fire, or blasting flare rather. For earth, I guess I'll just do rock spike for now. And then for water, I'll just do frost lance. And then we can set the wizardry spells, which we can have up to 4 at a time. So these buttons are going to correspond to, on the DualSense at least, starting from the top and going clockwise, triangle, circle, X, and square. So for this one, I will do, I think I'll do Blasting Fire. And then I will put on Repression Crush. I'll put on Unstoppable Force, and I think I'll try Rock Spike. Okay, and then when we go out, it's going to tell us a little bit about how to use that. We just hold in R2 and use the corresponding button. It does talk about how each one has a specific morale rank to cast it, and if your spirit gauge is all the way into the negative, you won't be able to use it. Otherwise, you can use it at any time. For example, and you can see there I'm just about in the negative. Whoop, and I was too close to the flag. And I can't use it now because I'm in negative spirit, so I have to wait until some regains. Okay, well, let's go fight a boss. And this may take me a few attempts, despite me having beat him about 4 times now, because, as I said, he is extremely challenging for a first boss. And if you played the demo and you got to him and you got to his second phase, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
尔等可是朝廷之人，胆敢忤逆皇天之徒，休想活着离开！
Zhang Lang, General of Man. So deflection is really going to be the name of the game. I'm going to switch to my saber here. So what I like to do is just get a deflection and then punish. So deflect, punish, follow up with a spirit attack. We can do a little martial arts there. When he does his criticals, it's really important that you break that very quickly. When he's in negative stamina and he's open for a critical, don't do what I did and don't go for the attack right away. Instead, do a few more hits and then you can actually go in for that attack. Otherwise, you're leaving damage on the floor. Okay, we almost have him into another stagger state. So there we have it. Okay, we're almost in phase 2. We should play around with a little bit of wizardry, huh? Okay, now we're in phase 2. Enjoy the carnage.
可恶！世间竟有此等高手！我乃是人工将军大贤良师张角之弟，绝不能辜负兄长对我的信任。
His range has greatly increased, and our need to deflect has also increased. Let's go ahead and use Unstoppable Force here. That's not Unstoppable Force. There we have it. That is the best opening I could have asked for, because he gets staggered for so long. So we're going to do a whole bunch of damage here before we go for that fatal. There we have it. Good. Deflections are just, like I said, so key. You can even deflect that move. And if I didn't deflect that, I was dead. And we gotta heal up for sure. Now we're gonna back up. Oh, careful now, I need to heal. Not sure why I'm failing to get that. Or that one. Let's heal up. There's the deflection. there's the death. Okay, not a bad first attempt, even though I've beat him 4 times. Let's get right back into it. Try to use our martial arts a little bit more. Yes, I know about basic training. We're not going to do basic training. And because we have that option to skip cutscenes, which it's on by default, we're just going to get right into it. We can actually run up and get some free damage, which is just really nice. And spirit attack. Martial arts, why not? Like I said, bullying him early on is just so helpful. Free damage, perfect. Let's use some unstoppable. Spirit attack. You can even knock him out of his criticals often if you hit him with that. That jump attack has such a delay on it. And yes, he can do multiples all in a row, so just be wary of that. And that should put us into phase 2. Good phase 1. And I'm going to start with this. That was silly. I actually really want him to do a critical. Like this, perfect. I find that one really easy to block, or deflect rather. Lots of free damage. And then I can heal. I don't know why I can never deflect that one. I should really just focus on actually, cheapers, he's fast. What am I trying to say? Just dodging it. Couldn't even see because of the camera there. Okay, that's good. We heal. That was good. We should get him into negative very soon here, especially with this. Perfect. This is looking pretty good. I'm going to do some unstoppable force again. If I didn't get that, that was going to be it. We almost have him. And that is it for Zhang Lang. A tough fight. Really and truly a tough fight.
你果然成功战胜了对手，如此孙子便能得救。
落入老夫何如此之手吧！应龙，这力量名不虚传呐！
你是将来能平定此乱世的贵人，不可让你死在此处。
That's right, all of that just to get to the title screen. Alright, so we actually got 2 pieces of the General of Man set. We got his weapon, and we also got the helm that I believe is obtained by beating the demo on the same console. So I got the Crouching Dragon helmet, which just looks so cool. And it also has inheritance. I don't actually know what that means. When you choose to upgrade equipment with this effect, you will be able to upgrade it to the highest level of any currently held equipment without spending coppers. Wow. Okay. So that can be improved throughout the game for free as long as you have something higher than it. That's pretty cool. And then it also increases the amount of our Dragon's Cure Pot, which is very nice. So I'm definitely putting that on because it looks awesome. But now we're going to learn about set items. And we're going to talk about this before we wrap up for the day. This equipment has a set bonus. So the Great Club of Polaris. This is what the General is just wielding. So we can see here, there is the Boulder Glide. We also have Undercurrent Sprint, which is very, very cool. So here is the set. So the Yellow Heaven Must Rise, the Club of Polaris, which is the weapon, and then the General of Man bandana, armored gauntlets, and greaves. And then down below you can see with how many pieces you have, what you're going to gain from this. You also have some information if you wish to read that. But let's go ahead and put that on. So we have the Great Club, which is very slow, as you can imagine. We also have the General of Man armor. Some really, really good special effects here. Let's just put this all on. And so it looks like, yeah, we got the 2 pieces. And if we go over to the General Man, we can see we are now getting spirit gain from normal attacks, an extra 1.9%, and minus 2.4% spirit damage received while attacking, which is pretty cool. We're actually not even that heavy, and I don't hate the way that it looks. I'm definitely not going to be using this with a polearm, though. We'll be using that with the ring saber because, frankly, I am not very good with the slow weapons. So let's actually get that out, though, just so you can see what these look like. Very, very cool. There we have it. And one of these martial arts here, so this, the Boulder Glide, and I believe it's because of the color, additional affected high spirit. So when your spirit is high, you get enhanced damage and it prevents staggering from incoming attacks, except by extremely powerful attacks. So you get some poise with that if your spirit is high, which is pretty great. So it really gives you an incentive to play this like you would a heavy character. Alright, I have talked a lot, and this has been my introduction to Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I really do hope you get a chance to play this for yourself. I recommend it based on what I've played so far highly. So I hope you follow me along for this journey and learn right alongside with me. Tips and tricks, absolutely put them in the comments because I would love to learn them myself, and hopefully I can teach you a thing or two as I learn too. I said two a lot, but anyway, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.